greatest. We'll dive down some. We might have just gone live. Not sure. Could have been later. We'll find out later. But if we did just go live, then
hello.
Here we are. Here we are for the second stream. Episode 2, Chuck Levin's Live, where we're going to talk about everything in music from gear, tips and tricks, how to make stuff work, whatever it might be, interviews, reviews of gear, basically anything and anything going on in the world of music. Before we get into... go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, welcome. And, you tell us too, because, we're all trying to navigate this situation together. So if there's something that you want to see us cover, let us know. We're happy to deliver on that.
Totally. Yeah. This stream is really, we want to just connect with the music world at large, the people out there. We're all stuck at home these days. But this is a great way to reach out and just share ideas and talk about cool stuff. We got a lot of really cool episodes planned already. We got gear coming up with different brands and different artists and some amazing people coming up. So Wednesdays at 4:00 is when we're going to go live with Chuck Levin's Live. Yeah, here we are. Before we get into today's content, before we get into some of the streaming topics that we want to talk about, just wanted to give a brief update on the store. Hey, Brian. Hey, Brendan. Thanks for joining in. So right now, Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center, according to the length of my beard now, that my wife is very displeased with, we've been closed a month now, and it is my intent to keep this growing as long as we are shut down. So we'll see how grisly this gets over time. So we're shut down, but we're not out. Salespeople all working remote. We have a limited number of people going into the store behind closed doors. We are not doing curbside pickup. People cannot come to the store to do business or anything of the sort. But we are able to make things happen. We are shipping orders. Our website is open. Email is open. If you got a question, shoot us an email, sales@chucklevins.com. Hit us up on the website. The world needs music more than now than ever. And we just want to make sure that you can make it happen. So even if you just got questions, something's not working, you're not sure how to make it work or whatever it might be, let us be your backbone. Let us be a resource for you. We just want to help out. Just like Tom was saying that, at the sales counter, you could be in any which way of in the interaction or the intersection of music. And I say it a lot that it's pretty interesting how a music store, a place that sells guitars and drums and things like that, can be so central to so many different things going on in the world. And like it's happening right now, streaming is it. Streaming is the world right now. We're all stuck at home. Everybody has to deal with this their own way. So the way that we can reach the masses in still an intimate kind of way is streaming, which has been pretty cool to watch what's been going on over the last couple weeks. I mean, really phenomenal artists are streaming. Some of our friends are streaming. So it's been a really cool thing. Last week we had Fred Yane on talking about his eavesdrop sessions on Sundays, which was really cool. And today we're going to show a different slice of streaming, a different way of doing it. There's no one way to get it done. So we're going to go through some of the tools that can help you make it happen. We're going to talk to some people that are actually doing it right now and creating content given the situation. And yeah, let's jump into it and just let's go for it.
Yeah, it's been really exciting, seeing, speaking to that, like I've been really keeping my eye out there and seeing what people are doing. And it's really great to see people taking, this time and using some of the tools that we have at our disposal to, to make music, to communicate with people. We, like Adam said, we really need that right now. It's super, super important. And, for those of you out there who are maybe like kind of on the fence, but make music and you're not sure about like streaming or how to put your music out there, this is something that a lot of our guests here coming up have been working on. And I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this. So, yeah. And I think also too, it can be kind of intimidating, right? Like as soon as you start to step into this world of, live streaming and recording yourself, there's a lot of info out there about how to do it, but it can seem kind of overwhelming, right, Adam? Like how to get some of this stuff happening and get it out there into the world. And, it's really cool. We have all the gear. So, we're super like into this world and we know how it works and we're able to like help you with that, And so, what are some of the things that you think would be the most important for, just getting started, getting these live streams off the ground?
First and foremost, I mean, don't let not having some gear be a barrier. This thing right here is a ridiculously powerful computer these days. And if you got a phone, you can do a stream. I've seen some amazing streams, and it's just been done using the video and audio from your phone. So, what's kind of interesting right now also is that it's kind of acceptable to be a little rough. It's kind of acceptable to be a little less polished. Not to say that there's not a case to be made for improving that and delivering your audience something more to listen to and to watch and to really engage with. But don't let it stop you. Because it's not perfect, no one's perfect right now. Everybody's home and trying to deal with whatever they have going on. So let your phone be where you start and then start to work on it from there. I just think it's worth saying. And actually some of our guests today are going to talk about how they create just using their phone and the gear they have at home. Something else just worth noting, I think, in the world of streaming is that it's changing daily. The tools at your disposal, the way that you can reach new people, the way that you can stream, and the tools that are available are incredible. Just this week, Facebook announced that you're actually going to be able to charge tickets to streams. So think about the potential for doing maybe like a ticketed concert or a ticketed festival even. I've watched the last couple weekends, I've watched tons of music festivals go on Twitch or YouTube. So the landscape is changing now. And it doesn't seem like it's going to revert back anytime soon. It's going to probably be a minute before we are in venues or have real, 10,000, 20,000 or larger festivals. I mean, it's going to be a good long while probably till we see that. But the streaming landscape is changing literally every day. So it's a really cool time to kind of be a part of it. And we're kind of exploring it now too. We're using a service called StreamYard. If you're not familiar, it's inexpensive, it's simple, it's easy, it works. And we got tipped off to this by Nate Aiello in our pro audio department, senior sales systems designer, who's going to be coming in and joining us later. So it's all changing daily, and keep an eye on it because it's a real fun time.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into some of the gear, some of the tips and tricks and things that are kind of important. We kind of glossed over this at the end of our stream last time. So we're going to jump in and talk a little bit more about what it takes, some ideas, some things to think about. There's no real one way to do this. That's the real key. If you're a podcaster, if you are a recording person, a recording engineer, you probably already have these tools around you. Just because you might have used it one way doesn't mean it's not the same equipment that would be used for streaming. So, the first thing to kind of think about, if you're going to go beyond the phone, right? We got to think about ways of getting audio into whatever device we're going to use to stream, whether that is your phone and you want to enhance that, or there's things that just aren't mic'd and you just can't pick them up acoustically. Or you're going to use your computer and you need a better way than the built-in microphone in your computer. So the way to do that is basically by going with something called an audio interface. So I have on the screen right here, an entry level, $99, the PreSonus Audio Box 96. Great little interface, USB connection. And if you look at the screen, the key is that it has two inputs here. These two little black marks right here. I can blow it up a little bit. So these inputs right here are combo jacks. These confuse people a lot. They look kind of like an XLR. They look kind of like a 1/4-inch jack. And that's because it is both. It does both things. And a 2-channel interface means that you can record two sources, 2 channels simultaneously. So that could be a microphone. It could be a guitar. It could be a stereo out from a keyboard or an electronic drum kit, maybe. Could be a DJ setup. So it could be a lot of things that you could use with just 2 channels. Not much more than you need from that. It's going to have headphone out. It's going to have a USB connection. So it's a pretty basic setup. And there's a spectrum of audio interfaces. What is an audio interface? What does it do? It takes all these sources and it converts it into ones and zeros. It converts it into a way that the computer can actually understand the music or understand what you're putting into it, so that it then can be transmitted online or anywhere else in the world. So if you're thinking about an interface and you're considering one, you got to think about the number of inputs that you want to stream simultaneously. In recording world, we generally talk about multi-track recording and recording each one of these tracks individually. With an interface, we're really just talking about how many inputs do we need to get into the stream. So don't necessarily think about what you need right now. Same as we would recommend to anyone, considering an interface for any purchase moving forward. Where do you want to go with it? If you buy a one channel interface right now, but down the road when we can kind of have people in the same room and you want to have a second person on the stream with you in the same place, a one channel interface won't cut it. So keep that in mind as you're considering interfaces. The last thing to consider, and this is really also an evolving situation, is the connection types on your computer. And I'm sure you guys all have tons of different cables just strewn about, USB cables, USB-A, USB-B, USB-C, all these different kinds of things. So make sure you're getting an interface that has the right connection type for your computer. The PreSonus Studio 24C is actually a really cool interface that's not terribly expensive either, $159, and we have these in stock as well. But the key here is that this comes with a USB-A and a USB-C cable. So if you got a computer you got in the last few years, this is certainly going to work. But if you got one of those newer Macs and it only has a USB-C connection, you're still off to the races and ready to rock. So it's a really cool and inexpensive interface, and would be a great way to get into the streaming world. Other things to kind of consider when you're looking at interfaces is going to be the and we're not going to get too deep into it, but there are calibers of interfaces, right? What are you going to get when you get a more expensive interface? If it has the same number of channels, why is it more expensive? It has to do with the converters. It has to do with the preamps. It has to do with the audio quality. And so you got to take that into consideration, depending on the value you're trying to provide or what you're up against or what you're trying to deliver to your customers. That may be important. But also recognize generally where we're going to be consuming this content. It's going to be on our phones, so it might not need to be the most expensive thing in the world. But if you got great stuff and great sound and you want that to be transmitted through the internet, things only are going to get degraded once they get streamed. So start with the best you can, and it's probably going to get watered down to some point somewhere. So the best you can give the stream, the better it's going to come out in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, so maybe we can talk about the interfaces that you're using. I know you might have touched on yours a little bit in episode 1. I'm a drummer, so we have the unfortunate position of often needing many different microphone inputs to get the job done, right? And that's not really a rule per se. I mean, you can get a lot done with 1 or 2 microphones on a kit. Let's be honest. A lot of great recordings were done that way, but you tend to want to have options, and that goes for if you're going to try and record a full band or not too. So I'm using an Apollo 8P. They do have an updated Apollo line interface now with the X series, but the AP was what I purchased because I wanted 8 inputs, right? So this is great. And, the conversion is good, but what this particular interface has that a lot of other interfaces don't have right now is onboard DSP. And what that means is it will do your processing on the machine and take the load off of your computer, right? So if you want to use plugins like compressors, channel strips, EQs, the Apollo will process that all for you in real time, right? So it's a very handy tool, but it's very much overkill. The reality is, like, most people, in fact, even drummers, can get away with a 2-channel interface and make that work, in particular for live streaming. But Adam, which interface are you using?
Yeah, so I'm actually using the Rode Rodecaster Pro. And if we want to toss that back up on the screen here. So I'm using the Rode Rodecaster Pro, which is designed to be specifically a podcast mixer. It has 4 mic inputs. I'm using just one with my Shure mic right here. It has a couple other channels that can be used to handle phone calls, or but really it's a mixer, and it's actually kind of cool. I'm a big proponent of having people really understand the potential for what your gear can do, how it works, why it does what it does. Because when you really understand it, you can start to hack things and make things happen that you didn't think it was intended for, or you didn't think was possible with what you had before you, which is just in general a theme I think that right now, given the situation we're in, figure out how your gear works and you might be surprised at what it can do. So for example, what I did the other day was I was trying to do an Instagram live stream with a friend who was doing a stream for his company. And Instagram Live, for now, there's talks of it actually being integrated with the Facebook Live situation, but for right now, it's not. It's kind of a lockdown ecosystem. It's kind of on its own. So we couldn't actually use StreamYard to restream our stream right now onto Instagram. So I had to like figure it out. I wanted to show some synths I had with a microphone so I could be heard. It was a bunch of lines that I wanted to get into my phone. So what I actually did was I used my mic. I plugged the line out of my synth into another mic channel. And then I used the Bluetooth channel on this, on the mixer, which is generally used to doing like a phone call. So if you're going to do like an interview like this, for example, that wasn't necessarily going to be using on a stream or Zoom or anything like that, it would be used to handle the phone call. And it would route the audio from the mixer to the phone, and it would take any audio from the phone back into the mixer so that people could hear on the headphones. And that's exactly what we did, which was, it worked so well. I was able to have my synth coming in, my mic was being heard. I didn't hear any echo in myself. And on the other end of the stream, they got to hear my synths, they could hear my voice, and it was a clean stream over Bluetooth, which was pretty remarkable, given that that's not really what it was intended to do. But this is a really slick way of getting Instagram Live and getting more audio into that feed and really making it happen.
Yeah, and you know what's really cool about the Rode is not only is it portable, but it is nice too to have faders that you can actually touch during the broadcast, right? So you can really like fine tune and adjust levels covertly, whereas a lot of other interfaces, you know, you don't have access to faders like that, and you might have to go like, for instance, with the Apollo, you have to use you know, there's a program that you have to bring up that you can adjust. But, you know, I'm a little old school. I like to be able to like touch buttons and move faders and stuff like that. So that's a really cool feature with the Rode, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not the end all be all. I mean, it's a bit pricey. It's $5.99. It does a lot. It's incredibly easy to use, and it's very visual, and, you know, it's almost like an iPad touch screen and all that kind of stuff, but it's definitely not the only answer out there. So, you know, Mackie makes a line of mixers. The Pro FX series has been around for a good long while. They just came out with the version 3 of the Pro FX series. And right here we have the Pro FX 6, which is their entry-level Pro FX mixer. It has effects built into it if you wanted to use those, but really what we're looking at it for is that it's got 4 inputs. It has 2 inputs, those combo jacks that we looked at before, that can take either a microphone or a 1/4-inch input like an instrument. And then it's got this stereo channel here, which would be perfect. Actually, it's got 6 inputs. So 2 1/4-inch inputs that could be good for like a keyboard if you want to run that in stereo, a CD player, something like that. And then it actually has this little 3.5 millimeter headphone jack looking input, which technically is a stereo input, 2 channels. So you really have 6 channels at your disposal. And on the back of this unit, it has a simple USB connection to your computer. And we're not so concerned with the multi-track capabilities. Again, like, we're not doing studio recording where we're necessarily going to be editing all these things afterwards. We're doing a live stream here. This is live. So this device, you know, $150? $150 could get up to 6 channels of audio going into your computer over USB connection, and you could be streaming all 6 channels at the same time. It doesn't take a lot. And if you have a mixer sitting around at home, take a look at it. You know, if it has a USB connection on it, you might be 10 steps further than you thought you were.
Absolutely.
You know, there's no shortage of USB mixers out there. PreSonus makes a USB mixer as well. It has Bluetooth. It has some other things. So maybe if you don't have the right connections around, you don't have all the right cables, having a mixer that has a Bluetooth connection on it can help. If you wanted to play something off of your phone, or, you know, something that you recorded somewhere else, that could certainly be a nice feature. But yeah, there's, you know, they all come in all shapes and sizes, all price points. If you're not sure what you're doing or what you want to go with it, let us know. You know, we can help you figure that out. There's plenty of ways to get this done.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah. So, what I wanted to talk about, oh, one other thing. If you don't have a mixer, you may have a portable recorder. Um, we talked about them a little bit on the last stream. Zoom H6, Tascam DR40X. A lot of these interfaces, a lot of these portable recorders, I'm sorry, have multiple inputs on them. So you can use, standard XLR microphones with them, but they generally also have microphones built onto them as well. And if you only have one of these recorders and it has built-on microphones, you have yourself a USB microphone. By and large, all of these devices can be plugged into your computer and be used just like a USB microphone would. So you could be getting better audio through your stream without needing other microphones. You might already have it. It's worth going and checking it out if you think you have one. Tom, you were telling me that a friend of yours is like building a business. He has one of these, and right now he's kind of thinking outside the box and making things happen. What's going on there?
Yeah, actually, shout out to Brendan Finnegan, who's on the YouTube stream here. He got the H6 from us, and it's been a great solution for him across the board. The portability is really nice, right? Like if you have a larger interface, you might want to just leave that put. You might want to have one that you can bring around. Say you're doing live streaming, you're doing podcasting where you're going to be interviewing a guest. Maybe you want to record a live concert when we get to do that again. Just the all-in-one handiness of the Zoom H6 makes it a really, really, fantastic device across the board. And I know he's been using it to great effect,
Yeah, it's a great tool, and like interfaces, they have a number of channels to consider. They have connections to consider. So if you need help picking one, or you're not sure which direction to go, just let us know. Hit us up. Check us out online. Ask us a question. We're around. We'd love to help you figure it out. So let's talk about microphones next a little bit. If you are going to do a stream like this, you're just going to be talking and having conversations. The microphone, your voice is your instrument. This needs to come through clean. This needs to come through sounding good. You want to be engaging, captivating, and you want your audience to actually enjoy what they're hearing. You don't want it to be like, I'm struggling to hear, or it's harsh, or it's brittle, or anything like that. You want it to sound good. So I just want to talk briefly about some microphones, and we're gonna spotlight one right now. It's what Tom and I are both using. We're both using the Shure SM7B. This little guy. Yep, there it is, right there. So the Shure SM7B. This is one of the most legendary mics of all time. Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on it. You see it used on radio shows and podcasts. Joe Rogan uses it. Gary Vaynerchuk uses it. It's literally in every ad I've ever seen for a podcast. It's the real deal. It gets it done. Tom, how long have you had your SM7? What do you think about it?
I've had mine for a few years, and the original was the SM7. Sure, reintroduced it as the SM7B. As far as I can tell, it's pretty much the same exact mic. A lot of times when they redo these mics, a lot of companies will change some of the components, or maybe they'll go with the 421, the MD 421 from Sennheiser, they might go from a metal body to a plastic body. Some of these things can change the allure, but as far as I can tell, the Shure SM7 and the SM7B, is pretty much carrying on the legacy of that SM7 that Michael Jackson and all the greats used. And it's just a really fantastic mic. It's flattering on, so many different voices. I know particularly loud rock, male voices tend to do really well on here, but it's almost always up in the mix with microphones that are 10 times as much on a session. So it doesn't really surprise me that you're seeing this mic in a lot of people's hands. It's going for $399 typically. That's, a pretty outstanding deal for a microphone of this pedigree, but there are some things to keep in mind when you're using this. And, as I've been, viewing podcasts on video over the years or just watching live streams myself, sometimes you might be thinking, wow, what is that microphone, or what are they using that for? Why did they choose that microphone over others? Like, how did this one become so ubiquitous? And I think that it just meets the price point right on with the quality that you're getting. It's just so much value for the money. It's really great. But one thing you want to keep in mind, though, this is a dynamic microphone, and maybe we can touch on, some of the differences between dynamic and condenser in this particular circumstance when you're doing like a podcast or a live stream. But this is a dynamic mic, and it tends to come in a little light. You might have to get more volume out of it. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. But I know, Adam, you have a solution over there that you've been using.
Yeah, so it's a pretty low output microphone. Generally, if you were going to plug this into any old interface, maybe like the Persona ones we showed earlier, it needs a good amount of clean gain so that it sounds right. It's a really rich sort of sound. It's not a thin mic. It sounds really rich and full. So you want that really all to come through. So you need either an interface that has a really good clean preamp. You might have experienced that as you kind of crank the gain on something, that hiss starts to come up too. We'd call that a noisy preamp. We don't want to add noise when we add volume. We want to make sure that it's still quiet. We're not adding unwanted noise into our stream. So how can we do that with a low output microphone if our preamp isn't great? You could get a better interface or a better preamp, but that's not the only answer. There's a whole slew of products out there called, basically they're mic activators. But the cloud lifters kind of had a stranglehold on this world for a good long while. It's kind of the industry standard. There's a lot of other good ones out there made by like Clark Technic and SE Electronics. I know that you're using a Trident one mic activator, but basically what these do is they take phantom power from your mixer or your interface. And if you're not sure what that is, on your interface somewhere on there there's usually a button that says plus 48V or phantom or something along those lines. And what that's going to do is it's going to send a power signal, electrical signal to this box, and it's basically going to give the mic a free, clean 20 dB of gain. So it's going to immediately it's like if you turn the volume knob up without adding any hiss at all, but you get to leave your volume knob where it was. So that means that your volume knob is now, you have a lot more control over dialing in that sound so that it sounds just right. If you didn't have it and your interface was less than satisfactory, you might find yourself in a situation where you're cranking that interface and you want it to get a little bit louder or a little bit quieter, and you don't really have much wiggle room to go. You're already maxed out. If you use the cloud lifter, you take that knob from being maxed, dial it way back down, and you'd be ready to rock, and you'd sound super sweet. Contrasting it with something like a condenser microphone, like a AKG P120, they sound great. They're going to pick up a lot more of those subtle nuances in your voice. They pick up more sound, though. They are more sensitive microphones. So we generally find these in like studio recordings, but a lot of streamers are using these, and for good reason. It's a little nice to be able to be a little bit further away from the microphone to be picked up cleanly, and a condenser can do that. You just have to consider that if you're gonna be further away and you're gonna be picking up sound, you could be picking up the room sound too, and that could potentially negatively impact your stream. You might be hearing the echo in the room and the lights or things passing by, or your neighbor doing their laundry next door. So just be aware of what your mic picks up, and that's why it's always a good idea to wear headphones whenever you're going to stream. Pro tip: wear headphones. You want to make sure that you're being heard in your microphone, that you can hear anyone else on the stream, any other feeds that you need to hear. You need to be monitoring it to make sure that it's actually all coming through. Headphones, super important. And just understand the type of mic that you're using. If it's a dynamic like we're using right here, they generally can reject sound off to the side. So you're not hearing the TV going on over my corner over here. You're just hearing my voice right in front of it, which is some of the advantages of using a dynamic microphone over a condenser microphone.
The other thing to keep in mind about that too, Adam, is also with a dynamic mic, sometimes you might need to get a little bit closer. So that means that the microphone will be in your video stream, whereas a condenser you might be able to put outside a little bit more. So depending on the kind of setup you have and how much clean gain you have access to, maybe a condenser microphone would be a good choice for you, because you don't want a microphone or anything cluttering up your scene. So you would use that, and that would allow you to be a little bit farther away. So one of the advantages
totally right
there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple other little things I can show. You know what? I got one other microphone I think is worth showing up here. It's a cool mic because it's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. Audio-Technica AT2005 USB. This mic is a handheld dynamic microphone. It's one of the few dynamic USB microphones, which is unique. So you can get the benefits of using a dynamic microphone that's not going to pick up all this extraneous noise, but it can be used USB, which is really easy. So you just kind of push it in and plug it into your computer and you're off to the races. But the benefit is that it's also an XLR microphone, just like the SM58 that I have here. So it's a type of microphone that if you've gone beyond the one-person stream, or you only need that one audio feed and you want to start to do more, or you want to use this microphone with a mixer or with effects or anything else, the AT2005 can be both. It can serve both. It can play in both worlds, which is pretty cool and unique. There's not too many mics like it. Let's see, anything else that we should show the peeps? If you're recording different instruments when you're streaming, each instrument's going to kind of have its own quirks, its own rules, I guess, or things to consider when you're really trying to get them to come through on a stream. And I just want to talk about some of them briefly so that we can get into some of our guests here, because we got some great stuff to talk about, and I think seeing it in practice is going to be a little bit cooler than necessarily talking about some of the stuff. But basically, let's say a keyboard player, for example. With a keyboard player, not every keyboard has speakers built in. If it does have speakers built in, you could use just your phone to pick it up. But if you don't, an interface is going to be the way to get audio into your computer. Let's say you're a drummer. We talked about this a couple minutes ago. One mic, two mics, multiple microphones. A mixer is probably your best bet. So you can use multiple sources. You can adjust the levels, and you can still get them into your computer USB without it being a massive setup. It doesn't need to be crazy. If you're gonna use your phone, it's all you got, and you're gonna make something happen, just make sure that you have a very sensitive microphone. Get it far away. Get it far away enough that you're not going to clip out the stream. If you are an electric guitar player and you want to stream, there's a lot of tools out there that you can use. The IK Multimedia iRig 2 has been blowing up. I'm literally having a shipment sent to my house because we're shut down and we can't receive packages. So I'm having it shipped to my house so that we can ship more out there, because it's a $39 input to your phone for a guitar. So it doesn't need to be rocket science to record guitar sounds. But when you're going to record electric guitar, keep in mind that, a big component of that electric guitar sound is the amp. And so if you're just going to go guitar straight in, you might want to think about how you're actually going to get that amp sound done. And there's cool amps out there that have recording capabilities. For example, the Boss Katana line, the Mark II line, has a USB connection so that you can plug your guitar into the amp, and then it has a USB connection out that's actually going to give you like mic modeling emulation, and it's going to capture the sound of the amp. So you're going to get that crunch, you're going to get that saturation that you want, that gain, but it's all going to be transmitted over USB. And in the same vein, Blackstar has the ID Core V2 series that can do the same thing. So there are amps out there that can make this stuff happen and doesn't need to be crazy expensive. These are generally pretty small. I even got one right here. And if you have one that doesn't necessarily have a USB connection, but you got an interface or something else, if your amp has a headphone jack on it, that's another way out. So when I say, learn about your gear, understand how it works, this doesn't have an output on it that says recording or computer. It doesn't say that on there, but who's to say that the headphone output on this thing can't be used for that, right? So that just goes back to understand your tools, understand what you're doing and how it works, and then the world blows open.
How does this, you know, a lot of people ask about like how they can do their brass instruments, because those tend to be, you know, pretty loud and can be a little bit more challenging if you want to get like a more clear sound. And like, how might somebody do that for a live stream?
Great question. So, you know, if you have nothing, you know, again, the phone, make sure that it's an adequate distance away so that it's not going to clip, because generally, you know, the horn blasting into a mic like that could kind of pop it or clip it. But Yamaha actually makes a really cool line of products called Silent Brass. And if you haven't seen these before, essentially they are a collection of mutes, basically, for various different instruments. And the mute has a headphone jack on it. So it's basically silencing the instrument so that you don't bug your neighbors or your kids or anything else like that. And it's giving you an amplified output so that you can plug it into an interface or your phone or a recorder or something to get a clean recording without disturbing, you know, anyone else around you. It would be a great way to get a stream going for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, I think it's probably time we start bringing on some guests here. So our first guest is going to be Luke Schuster, guitar salesman at Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center. He, as soon as we shut down, he was home and he just started putting out awesome music into the world, and doing it himself. And it's really cool what he's done. So let's show a clip now and let's see what Luke does.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Yeah.
I love it. Luke.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome.
Yo, Luke, we miss you. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Going okay. Let me just fix my hair up a little bit here.
Looking
Sure
good,
I'm
man.
all right.
Looking good.
That home look going on, man. You're looking solid.
I'm doing good. You know, it's nice to be hanging with you guys. Everything is backwards on here. This is crazy.
Welcome to the stream life, man. Everything is backwards and no one knows what the hell is going on, but we're still doing it anyway. Well, Luke,
Exactly.
you know what your videos brought me to life. You know, it was a pretty rough time. It was a crazy swirl of emotions when we were shut down, and days later you had this video coming out, and it brought me back to life. It was like it was it. So you know, tell us about it. Like, you know, what are you doing? How are you doing it? What is it that you got going on?
Sure. So, I mean, I basically I heard about this app called Acapella, and at least I'm pretty sure, you know, it's supposed to be an app for singers to basically, so you can harmonize with yourself, and you can record up to 9 different tracks, and there's video. You know, there's video on each one, so you can see what you're doing in each part. And then I saw a couple people not using this with singing, but more so with instruments. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. So I downloaded it. You know, started looking into it a little bit, and you know, it's really amazing what you can do with it. You know, it's not going to give you everything that a professional recording studio could offer, but if you're somebody like me who doesn't really, you know, I don't have microphones, I don't have a lot of the professional recording equipment. I just have a bunch of instruments, and I play. So
No mics.
No mics at all. No interface. So I am using the newest iPhone. Let me see, you know, the 11 Pro or whatever. You know, and I was going to try and show you a little bit here. If I can see here, this is
There it is.
this is the Acapella app. So this is the same video that you just played. And basically, these are all the individual tracks, and you can go through and adjust the volume, adjust the panning, put reverb, put echo. So there's a lot of things that you would do in a professional recording studio that you can do on here. It's a little bit kind of more of a novice kind of a setting, but I mean, you just heard it. I just did it really just for fun, just to try something out. And when I got done with it, I was like, wow, this actually sounds really good. Maybe I should put this out there. And a lot of people are telling me that I should keep doing them, and I am working on them. So stay posted. I'm gonna keep trying to release some. So.
Well, you may be using novice level software, but you're definitely not using novice level gear. Let's got some nice instruments in there. We could see them in your video. Like,
yeah, thanks, man.
What kind of stuff were you using to do this?
Well, as you can see on the wall, I got some guitars, some electric guitars, the nice Martin acoustic. But one of my, hobbies or interests for a long time now has been collecting vintage gear, especially keyboards. So I have a bunch of real keyboards from the 60s and 70s, that you could have bought from Chuck Levin's in the in the 70s,
golden days.
in the golden days, exactly. So, over here, I don't know if you can see it, I got a Fender Rhodes piano, and I can play them a little bit. Clavinet, Hohner clavinet, which is the instrument that Stevie Wonder's, famous for playing. Got a little drum kit over here, so basically it was like, when the shutdown happened, I just, my whole life, working at Chuck's, I had to stop doing that. I had to, I can't play gigs anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to figure something out. So I just got all of my stuff in one place, and, this is my, this is what's been keeping me going here.
Now, did you do any live stream or any of this like video collage or anything like that prior to the store close, or is this just something you got into recently?
No, this is a recent thing. I mean, I've always dreamed of having my own recording studio, a home recording studio, if you will. But never really got everything that I needed to get together. But I did do a kind of an open mic this past weekend with a college friend. That was a live stream. But I think I'm going to eventually need to get at least some kind of interface like the one that you were, just showing the PreSonus, or because I would like to do more live streams in the future, for sure. So. Yeah.
So the recording on your phone, I mean, it sounded great. It looked great. It worked great. I mean, nothing to say that people can't record on your phone. It's interesting that you said that, for the better streams, you are going to want an audio interface because, it's a different method of transmitting the information. So you'd want it to be better. So
yeah, the one that I did with my friend this past weekend, there were some issues with the audio cutting in and out a little bit. And I think as opposed to going just with the phone microphone for something like that, you really need, if you're, if you want it to sound good, you want it to look good, you really should get the right gear for it.
And so when you were, every instrument under the sun, you were recording for these videos. I mean, was it trial and error when you were, placing the phone the right distance, or how did you, what was your process? How did you figure out what worked and what didn't?
Sure. That's a good question. So what I've been doing for, basically what I've been trying to do is take a song and learn all of the parts, listen and, learn the bass line, learn the drums, try to get all the nuances of the songs and, try to get them in there. But usually I'll start with a scratch vocal and like a scratch acoustic guitar just by myself to just go through the form of the song. And then I'll layer the other instruments around that. And then I'll go back and redo a better take of the lead vocal at the end. And that's I think a normal practice of what a lot of bands do in a recording studio, but it's just me. You know, it's
I think it worked. You know,
all I
is there
got.
you got any obstacles or any tips if someone was going to try this out, things they should think about or consider before they just jump into this thing?
That's a good question. You know, just experimenting with different songs. I mean, you know, I've written I've written songs in the past. I'm not a songwriter. I haven't been doing a ton of writing, mostly just covers of other people's songs. But I would say, you know, just trying to make it as comfortable as you can for yourself. You know, a lot of times, even things like switching the key of the song that you're doing it in. If there's some things that as a musician you can't reach this note, or you don't have that note on your keyboard, you can switch it around to make it a little bit more usable, you know, for yourself, I would say. Also, like I think Tom and Adam, you guys have been alluding to. I mean, you know, people have issues with anxiety, or, you know, this kind of thing about putting yourself out there. And, you know, I've had my own issues with that. But now, like you said, I mean, this is the time to, you know, people need to hear good music. You know, it really is kind of a gift that you don't realize. You know, people need it. You know, and if you have something that you can offer, you know, make it happen. You know.
That's great. That's great. Luke, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making awesome music. Hope to see you at the stores sooner than later. But in the meantime, I can't wait till I see that next video that you put out, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks,
Thank
Luke.
you, guys.
I mean, doesn't get any simpler than that, you know, an app on your phone and just like making it happen. I mean, too cool.
And it's also like healing for yourself too. Like, you know, it's healing for other people to hear the music, but it can be just really nice right now, you know, if you're not doing gigs and stuff like that, to still be in the creative process and still delivering, you know, music to people. It's, you know, it's a healing thing. It's therapeutic.
Yeah. So for everyone, you know, if you're just checking it out, that's the Acapella app. I think there's a free version and a paid version. Check it out. You know, try and make some mashups, make some tunes, see what happens.
And share it with us.
Yeah, please do.
Stay home, make music.
Boom.
Boom.
So our next guest is another local DC musician, a phenomenal guitar player. We love having him come in the store. He was recently on tour with the Broadway show, SpongeBob Broadway show. He does all kinds of stuff. Let's check out a video of Garrett Gleason before we bring him on stream. Man, Garrett.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
Hey, Garrett.
How's it going,
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Nice to see you as well.
So Garrett, you are would love having you come to the store. Phenomenal guitar player. You started putting these videos out on Instagram. You know, what's been going on? What's going on in Garrett's world right now?
Just trying to stay as healthy and optimistic as possible throughout all of this. You know, piggybacking on what Tom was just saying right before you guys brought me in here, is that us musicians have a lot that we get to focus on in these times and really hunker down and work on, whether we're administering it to other people or not. I'm really grateful to have these projects to obsess over and hunker down and really push myself toward. I mean, whether it's shared with anyone or not, I think everyone can agree to some degree that there's nothing cooler than standing next to something you've created and that you're proud of, whether it's like a garden or a song or something like that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally.
And, you know, you're creating kind of, you know, maybe something that people wouldn't have been doing prior to this time. It's starting to turn into sort of an art form in itself, you know, right? Like these types of covers and playing along to things. And, you know, it's turning into its own creative beast, so to speak. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, strange times are breeding people thinking out of the box. I mean, what you just showed was a transcription video, which people have been transcribing other people's works to push themselves for as long as music's been recorded. But I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say these times didn't breed me pushing myself in that regard more, you know?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about just like the video that we just saw. How did you make it? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other musicians out there that want to make videos like that, maybe like almost playing alongside a band that they really respect or love or just want to have some fun with. I mean, what did you use? What software did you use? How did you get that done?
Right. So all of the putting it together was on iMovie on my phone. I have an iPhone, not the most recent one. I think the model I had before this one, I have an 8R right now, but I had the 6 back in the day, and that had iPhone on it too, with all the functionality it has today. If you have iMovie open and you want to add a video, it next to the add button for any clip you select, it also has a ... button, which allows you to do picture within a picture or split screen. And at the very least for this video, but then also some quarantine collaboration stuff with other musicians have made, it's all been sort of doing picture in picture or split screen, nudging things around. With the more video heavy or the picture in picture, multiple windows kind of thing, you might have to bounce out your project a couple of times to add in a new window. And but it's just all iMovie. As far as recording though, for my guitar, I'm not miking an amp because you were saying use headphones for all of this recording. I couldn't agree more, because if you're using a mic or anything like that, recording yourself is going to pick up what you're recording to. But I don't have my main amplifiers with me currently, just where I'm staying right now. So I'm going direct into an interface. I have the Scarlett Solo. It's small. It came with Ableton Live Lite 9 or 10. I upgraded it to, but it has amp modeling in there, and I can just tweak my sound however I want to. It's super simple. And then in iMovie, you can just add the audio file to your video project, and then just align it, and you're good to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome and simple. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to make stuff happen. Just lets the content shine on its own, which is super, super cool.
Cool, man.
So if someone else is out there and they want to give this a shot and they want to start making some videos, what's something that you wish you knew when you started that might have cut out some of the time figuring it out? Like what's a tip you would give someone that's going to start this today?
Well, I started doing these sort of multi-video or multi-picture videos a while ago on Acapella, like Luke did. And I wish I knew the headphones thing, just for the simple, it will pick up the audio that's coming out of your speaker source. It will continue to add high frequency to the overall sound. You might get an MP3 watery sound build up throughout the course of doing it. So definitely using headphones, or if you want to not listen in headphones, but track yourself, go into an interface. That's really helpful for sure. When I started doing these collaborations in this period, though, something I noticed with using iMovie, if you want to make multiple video windows for a project, it'll only allow you to put one at a time per project. So I've had to bounce out multiple times, to maybe like 4 times, to get 4 of me in a window, which Acapella you can do very quickly, but in the same project, but you also have a time limit there, and you don't have audio mixing capability and stuff like that. Something I've noticed with iMovie that I just worked around, but it would be good for anyone listening to know, is that the more times I bounced it out, the audio and the video kind of separated a little bit as I kept bouncing out. There was a little bit of a lag from video to audio, which is why it's great to record your audio into an interface so that you have the finalized product separate from the video that you can always keep track of.
Yeah, for sure.
Great points. Had you done like video editing much before, or was this kind of a new thing you started doing with the iMovie and all that during this time?
I mean, I used to dabble with acapella maybe a couple years ago when I was getting into Instagram. There'd be little day projects. Would be like, hey, I have a musical idea, and it's not something I want to include on an album, but I think it would be something that friends might enjoy, or might be some good content to have floating around, a disposable enough idea that I thought I could make happen visually looking cool on an app. So I had worked with acapella really in the past, but iMovie and doing this multi-window thing has been my first time using it has been in this quarantine. But I've been using iMovie in the past for like if I'm promoting an album I'm working on, I can take the audio from that album and put it alongside just visual stills of the artwork and stuff like that. I mean, iMovie is just incredibly simple to do that kind of stuff with.
Really cool. Really cool. Garrett, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your music with the world and some tips with us. I think a lot of musicians are going to really gain a lot of value out of this, and hopefully we see some more videos out there in the Instagram world, and hopefully more from you soon.
Happy to do it. You guys are doing a cool thing. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've just seen, some two great musicians that make music, very different music, very different ways, but primarily just all on their phone, which I think is inspiring. I mean, you don't need too much to make really cool content. It's just a matter of making the content.
For sure.
Which is really, I think, for a lot of people out there, if you got a phone, put it to work, start doing something with it. But it's certainly by no means the only way to stream. And there's a lot happening on the upper echelons of streaming too. Like I was talking about early on, we're starting to see music festivals that are being streamed. We're starting to see bands come together and perform on a stream because they can't be in a venue. And right when this shutdown happened, one of the hardest hit sectors was the venue and the event production sector. No more live events, no more venues. What are we going to do? And real fast, I was really taken aback and impressed by what the guys at Harford Sound were doing. Phenomenal production company, one of the best around. And they took their gear and they turned it inwards, and they put together, I think, one of the most phenomenal streaming setups that I've seen in the last month or so, maybe ever. But it's killer. So let's take a look at what the guys at Harford Sound are doing, and then let's bring them in.
I want you back. Hello, Facebook. It's time to say I'm sorry. It's time to make the things I didn't done a lesson I've learned too well for sure. All right. Somewhere in the midnight hour, I lost my sanity. Stifled by the contracts in the crooked fantasy.
Awesome. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
On the stream, we got Nate Aiello, who is from the Chuck Levin's Pro Department, Senior Systems Design, and we have the team from Harford Sound. We have Evan and we have Steve. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining the stream. How you guys doing? How's it going out there?
Oh, it's going. Steve, I think
It's
you
going.
muted yourself. I have a little band walking through right now. He's two.
The living from home life, the stay at home life, they're always around.
Yeah.
Well, guys, your streams are next level. What you put together really is phenomenal. What's the experience been like so far? I mean, you guys have done a couple really big streams with a bunch of different bands. from the moment the shutdown happened, you guys were starting to think outside the box and try to come about from this and turn it into something. So I'd love to hear kind of what the experience has been like for you and what you put together.
Well, I think Steve still muted himself, so I'll talk while he figures out his phone. But yeah, I mean, it went from a very busy year to nothing in a matter of 2 weeks. So we just kind of had this gear sitting and decided, well, we got to do something. And we like music and we have, some video gear. So let's try to figure out how to stream some bands on Facebook. And we cleared out half of the warehouse and hung up some lights and some drape and made it look pretty cool. And each week we're kind of learning something new and how to make it better. We tried to broadcast in HD at first, but didn't have the gear to do it. So we were getting by with a 480 broadcast, which it was all right, but it was pretty low resolution. So we upgraded some gear, got better stuff, and now we're doing full 1080 streams, and it really just has come together and, looks pretty professional.
It looks unreal. So what's, from when you started, what was one of the more important either pieces of gear or changes you made that kind of took the stream to the next level?
Well, I mean, we're an audio and lighting company, we're a production company. We're not a streaming company, so it's stuff we've never done before. And we were just kind of making it up and going. So, we started with some Chinese web video capture device, and it wasn't doing the job. So we upgraded to a Blackmagic capture device so we could do the 1080. We've got the Blackmagic switcher. And we slowly just been kind of figuring out okay, HD cameras, we're learning about, frame rate conversions. And every time you run a camera through a converter, it's out of sync all of a sudden. So just trying to get everything to work has been a process on its own.
I mean, it's probably hugely complicated. What gear are you using? What mixer are you using? And is it all going through? How's it getting into the stream? How are you actually doing the stream?
Well, behind me, it's all backwards. We actually have a whole separate room set up to do the broadcast mix. So we have a split with this console, and then I mix in here on some monitors, and I got a TV behind me as well, so we can see what's going on and hear completely isolated what it's going to sound like going out to the world. So I mix in here, and then out in the warehouse, we have a whole nother team or another monitor console, so they can do the audio out there for the band. We got a lighting console out there, and then in here as well, we have the video switcher. And then he's watching the stream, and we this is the final product in there, and then what we're filming in the warehouse is completely different than what you see.
And what streaming platform are you guys using? How are you actually getting it done?
We are using OBS. It's a free software. A lot of people use it. It's really powerful. There's a lot of we've learned a lot about it as we've used it. The first couple streams we didn't know half the features it has, and now we've been diving deeper in. We can add tickers, custom logos, interlay a bunch of stuff. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think Steve's frozen and dead, so I'm going to let him talk on my screen for a second.
No, I'm here now.
Too.
Oh, there.
All right, gotcha. Technology.
Technology.
What a wonderful
Nothing
thing.
better than being in person.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yeah, so I think Evan mentioned some of the gear we're using already. I heard a good amount. But yeah, obviously where we make our hay is doing the live stuff, and festival season is now. So I think immediately we knew we had to turn it on and flip the switch and kind of look at things a little bit differently. The gear was just sitting here. We know a little bit, we're not video guys by any means, but we're getting a little bit closer each day, and every stream we've done is exponentially better than the last one. And I think that could probably go for anybody, whether you're just using an iPhone or you're stepping it up a little bit with some of the other interfaces. The more you do something, the better you get at it. We're pretty excited with what we're doing so far.
So what's the response been like? I mean, you guys have had a variety of bands in there already. What's been the response been?
It's been fantastic. It's allowing bands on every level, local and national, to stay connected with their fans and their friends. They're able to solicit donations. Which is helpful. No one likes to kind of do that and ask for donations and start GoFundMe's, but obviously this is how people pay their bills, and there are no rules anymore. You do what you can to survive and stay relevant, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to provide for these bands.
I think the virtual tip jar thing is pretty interesting. You might have saw it a little bit prior to the situation going on, and it might have been a little, people felt a little bit mixed about it, but now it's the way, and I don't think people should be shy about putting it out there. I mean, you're putting music out into the world. You're providing a service. You're brightening people's days and making stuff happen. So I think that the world's starting to get around it, and I think responding really well to it. I mean, I've heard from a lot of different people that it can be a nice night. Putting your tip jar out there and streaming it out and seeing what happens.
Well, it can, and also too, I think people are maybe a little more apt to support their local artist or production studio. They don't have to drive anywhere. They're not paying for parking, a ticket, beer, things like that. I think their money is now going directly towards the artist and not in a roundabout sort of way. And to your point, I know Nate's, he's in the streaming game too with a lot of his stuff. And if for nothing else, it does brighten people's day and gives people something to look forward to. And I think that's a big thing for us and for guys like him and what he's doing as well.
That's for sure. And what I also wanted to ask was just like streaming. The concerts aren't happening anymore. Where do you think this goes? I mean, I know it's like too early to tell exactly what's going to happen if we're going to see events in any capacity in the next couple of months. But do you think streaming is going to be a component of what you guys do moving forward, or how are you guys kind of evolving with that?
I mean, ideally, we get back to doing business as usual and sweating it out and lugging gear and killing it at festivals and different venues. But we have the capability now. We know we can do it. And now that this is a viable alternative for a lot of acts, and there's less mouths to feed with it. There's less overhead when it comes to certain events. If there's a way to fine tune this streaming algorithm, I mean, I think it's going to be around even when things come back to life. And it is going to grow from here, drive-in festivals, streaming festivals here, doing 2 or 3 bands a day, stuff like that. So it's going to be prevalent, I think, for a while, just because no one had to do this before. And now that everyone knows they're capable of it, and these manufacturers are putting out different gear to make it easier for even sales guys like me, I think it's going to be around for a while, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think that's right. Anything else? Any other obstacles or things that you didn't necessarily think about in the early stage of this that you wish you knew then, that you could tell maybe someone else out there that's got a mixer and some mics and stuff around that they might want to try this out? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's more trial and error than anything. I mean, we're learning about. I know how Evan said how different things convert and what goes where and the order of things and signal flow with the chain. And every stream presents something a little bit different too. And also too, a lot of this is internet based. And I was doing a wacky bit. My internet was perfectly fine. I was just trying to demonstrate the unpredictability of things. And that can happen. I mean, anytime you're copying, cut and pasting a stream link from YouTube or Facebook into a piece of software, there could be strange things. I would say don't get discouraged. It's trial and error, and do it as often as you can to really hone your craft, just like anything else.
It's great advice. Evan, thanks so much. Thanks for doing this, for being here, for putting music out there. Keep it up. It's been awesome. It's great to work with you and to watch it happen.
Awesome. Nate, thanks, guys.
Nate, stay around for a second. Thanks, Evan.
I got you.
So Nate.
Yeah.
Neverland Nate.
What's happening?
The man that taught me how to stream.
If I delete my name, then I'll forget to put it back up in my streams, and I stream way too much. So
stream life.
Yeah.
But you turned me on to StreamYard. You kind of I saw you doing it the second the shutdown happened, and I just kind of saw you just light up and go live and start talking about Disney and just things that you love and wanted to put good vibes out there. Tell me what you've been doing, and also you, even after our last stream, you gave me some good tips. That I'll let you kind of share your top tips for the streamers out there. But what's the experience been like for you?
It's been very different for me. This is not something that I was accustomed to doing at all. Obviously, I love Disney and I love tiki mugs and things like that. So I kind of just put the 2 and 2 together, and it was actually I was down at Disney at the beginning of March when the situation took place, and I decided then that a lot of people were upset when I was there, and a lot of people were sharing a lot of feelings with me that were bringing me kind of down and making me realize what was really going on. And come to find out, everybody wanted to hear about Disney and things like that. So I just said, all right, well, why don't I just go online and just talk about Disney, because we can't be there, and it's something that I'm really passionate about besides audio. And I can't just sit and talk about audio. And there are a lot of people who want to talk Disney. So I just did. I just started talking about Disney just with a friend of mine named Mark. And we just started doing this stream. And all of a sudden it was 10, 15, 20 people, 25 people watching and asking questions. And what can we do? And then it evolved itself. It got out of control real fast because I didn't know how to handle it. So I just said, all right, I'll just keep talking. You guys want to hear me tomorrow night? And they're like, yeah. So I'd like, all right, well, tomorrow night I'll go live. I'll talk about Disney some more. That's what it is, man. I mean, I'm streaming like 4 or 5 nights a week now. It's like
it's awesome.
I'm getting cast members from Disney to come on and talk. I'm getting Tiki Mug artists to come on and talk because they want to share too. They don't have an outlet anymore. They can't go to their festivals. They can't go to their bars and work. They can't go to the parks and work. So
right. So what's your streaming setup been like? And what do you think about it? And what are you thinking comes next?
Right now, this is it. It's just a MacBook Air. I have a pair of SE2s that I've had for 15, 20 years. That's what I used to hear with. I just ordered an interface, obviously, and I have a Beta 58 that I'm going to use. And sometimes my wife comes on with me and we just talk to the computer. Sometimes it's our friends. Sometimes it's other people. And I deal with that all day too. I'm a 6-subject teacher in school now, and I've got to. It's fun though. I gotta say, I've actually had people reach out to me, and that's what's really kept me doing this. Is I've had people reach out to me privately and just say, "Dude, thank you so much for that stream tonight. With everything that went on today, with whatever was in the news, whatever's going on. It's like, thank you for giving me an outlet for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is." So,
that's great.
Yeah, I want to just keep giving message to people that we're all in this together. Doesn't matter what you're into, what you like. There's an outlet for it, and there's somebody there that will talk to you about it and help you through whatever you're going through. So, and obviously, I'm here for all the audio needs as well, and we've been dealing with that too. So,
been doing plenty. I think it's refreshing. You had a handheld microphone around. You had a Beta 58 or an SM58 just kicking around because you use it for other things at some point, sometime, somewhere, and all you needed was one piece of gear to step this up a level and take it up a notch. And it's not a stretch of the mind. It was one interface and a cable and boom, like your audio is going to be that much better. Can't wait to see what it looks like and how it sounds. You also gave me a super pro tip after the last one that I think is exemplified in your view right here. Yeah. The background matters. Way more than I thought the first time.
It does.
It's a real big deal. The ambience, and I think that also goes to the Harford Sound thing. I mean, and you look at in some of the other streams that some of the other people do, Fred, Yane last week, and some other people, adding some ambience, adding some lights, adding a little flavor to the background of what's going on. It makes a world of difference.
I even have flaming tiki torches in here.
Torches, you got.
But we all have time.
Hairdo. I mean, you got everything.
All of this is all hand built. Like, I never built anything in my life. I built all my shelves. I built all this stuff, and it's just because we all have time. So why not? If we're going to make people happy, make them happy with what we can, like Luke does. Luke could have just came on and sang One Love and just did it with a guitar, acoustically or whatever. But he said, you know what? Let's spice it up a bit. Let's make it, different colors. And he played piano with just seeing his hands, and then you see him playing guitar, and then you see him with a shaker. I mean, all that kind of stuff just shows people that you're trying to get that message out that we're all literally all in this together. I know I said it, and it's repetitive, but that and interacting with the people, your guests, that's the most important part to me. Reaching out to them, and because there's a lot of people who are sad, and we don't want people to be sad. So
no, we don't.
Probably not.
Nate, thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing the happiness and all that good stuff. And
thanks for having me.
Keep it up.
Looking forward to getting back and giving you guys all a big hug. Miss the shop.
Or like a virtual handshake or whatever the hell we got to do.
I hug. We don't virtually do anything. We hug.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks for being here.
Guys. Take care. Nate. Be well.
Mahalo.
See ya.
So
all right.
That's a stream. That's stream number 2.
Number 2.
We heard some great stuff. I mean, we kind of ran around the world of streaming, from from on your phone with nothing else to full-on Avid console and cameras and switchers and a monitor mix and all this stuff, and back to just a laptop again on just something fun and engaging and interesting. And even if it's not music, I mean, it can brighten people's day and it can make someone's week.
That's seriously what it's all about. And, keep in mind if you're just joining us or if you came in halfway through, this is our second episode of this, but, we got a lot of really cool stuff in store for you guys coming up, and we're really excited. We're trying to, iron out all the details, I think, but I feel like this is going to be a regular thing for us moving forward. And I think it's just going to be a really great opportunity to connect with all you guys out there. So we're super psyched about what's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. We got a bunch of streams coming up in the future. Next week, we're going to be taking a DJ spin on this, and we're going to be talking about streaming and DJing and how the two worlds interact and ways that you can kind of go about it. We're going to be talking to a phenomenal human being, DJ Kopek, doing killer stuff up in Baltimore. We're excited to talk to him and kind of what he's done with streaming and the impact he's had. We're going to have a stream with the guys from Boss. We're talking about doing a stream with the guys from Fender, and we got more up our sleeves. We'd love to make the stream what you guys want, though. So if you have ideas, if you have questions, if there are people you want to see, if there are brands you want on the stream, if there's questions you have for people, hit us up. live@chucklevins.com is an email address dedicated to this stream. We'd love to hear from you. But until then, stay tuned. Working on this bottom half of the stream here. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook @ChuckLevins, so you can stay up on the next stream and all the other content that we're pushing out there during these quarantine times. Again, the website is open, chucklevins.com. If you want to make music, if you have questions about streaming, if you're not sure if your gear will work or how to make it work, let us know. We're here to be a resource. We want to help you out, help you do this thing. You're not alone in this. That's the message. If you took one thing away from this entire stream, you're not alone in this. We got your back, and we want to help you make more music. Until next time, next week, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. Tom Garrington, Adam Levin, Chuck Levins Live. We'll see you next time.
Peace.